Use mine.
Okay, great.
You just have to watch to see if people are going to come on.
So I know it's a little bit to start thinking about Hanukkah, but usually on Rosh Chodesh Kislev, that's what we start. Do you have a sheet? Let me give you a sheet. This really just has the questions, not so much the information. That'll force you to pay attention. But they say that, so usually Rosh Chodesh Kislev, which would be Friday, but God willing, I'm going to Israel tomorrow, so we moved it up to Tuesday. So we moved Rosh Chodesh up, yeah. So tomorrow we're going to say Hallel, and today is Rosh Chodesh, yeah. So, but they say that within 30 days of a holiday, you can already start discussing holidays. So we're within 30 days of Hanukkah, so that's okay. So let's go just through some highlights just for discussion to get you into the Hanukkah mood. And then, so we'll start with one. You're traveling during Hanukkah, and you're going somewhere you're not going to be able to light. Suppose you're going to be staying at a hotel, so you can't light a flame at a hotel. Can I use an electric menorah? Right? Obviously, the question is that I know it's secondary, but I'm not going to be able to light a real fire. So secondarily, can I use a menorah? So the answer is no. Right? Just a simple answer. It's based on two things. One is you need a flame, right? You need a wick with a flame, whether you're using oil or wax, but you need a flame. The other thing is really an interesting one. This always interested me, that when you light, you need to have a lighting reservoir that will allow the flame to light for 30 minutes, right? Meaning, let's suppose I would say, I'm going to fill the cup with enough oil to light for 10 minutes. And then at around 9 minutes, I'll add some more oil, so it'll keep lighting, and I'll do that again. That's no good. That's not a halachic lighting, because at the time you lit, this could have only been lit for 10 minutes. That's not good. It has to be light at least for 30 minutes after Tzeisak HaChavod, right? So, and we'll discuss in a few minutes what happens. Let's suppose there was enough oil for 30 minutes, or enough wax for 30 minutes, but then it went out. Is that okay? But if you think about it, let's suppose a light bulb, you turn on the switch. That light bulb doesn't have enough electricity in it at that time to go for 30 minutes. How do I know that? Because if I put the switch down, the light bulb will go out. Meaning the light bulb is constantly depending on an electricity from the wall, from the wires coming in to feed it, right? So Rosh Shlomo Zalman says, very much b'diavad, very much b'shas hatchak, meaning emergency. You cannot. So what you can do is get yourself, it's not so easy to find, a battery-powered incandescent light, right? Now, incandescent, because it has a filament that gets hot and glows, so that's something, akin to a flame, right? So there was an acceptance of that. We used to use that sometimes for Havdalah. And the battery power, in the battery, there is the power that'll last for 30 minutes. But something that's plugged into the wall, that kind of electricity, is not good. So you cannot be yotze with that. But Willig says don't ever use electric menorah because you may make a mistake and make a bracha. Even on this battery-powered incandescent light, you're not supposed to say a bracha. A bracha is only on a flame. So the answer is don't use an electric menorah. I personally, can tell you, I'm a big believer in the idea of Pesumei Nisa. So this is not la halacha, but what I do is I light a flame, and then after about 2 hours, 3 hours, it goes out, okay? I light an electric menorah in my window because I want it out all night to publicize the miracle. But that's Pesumei Nisa. That's my own shtick. I'm just saying, but for the mitzvah of Hadlakas Neros Chanukah, the answer is not to use an electric menorah. 2, may leftover oil be used for non-mitzvah purposes? So the Shulchan Aruch in the Mishnah Berurah says that only the oil that is for the 30 minutes of lighting is really designated for the mitzvah, and therefore not to be used for anything else. Okay? So after 30 minutes, there's still oil in there. So technically you can use it for something else, right? But the Magen Avraham says that you should really make it tonight. If that's what your plans are, you should really make it tonight. And that is that I'm planning on only using the oil for the 30 minutes for the mitzvah of Hanukkah. And after that, I want to use the oil for something else. Others say that if you don't verbalize that, or at least have in mind that I want to use the oil beyond 30 minutes for something else, then you shouldn't use it. So ideally, you let it go. But I'm saying, let's suppose, and we'll get into it a little bit later, let's suppose you extinguish it after 30 minutes, which technically you're allowed to use. Do. What?
If you put it out after 30 minutes, you use it the next night.
Yes.
Okay.
Technically, especially if you verbalize, like the Magen Avraham says, that I'm only planning to use the light for the 30 minutes, that's what's designated for mitzvah. Any other light, I can use something else. And after 30 minutes, you can take that oil and use it for anything you want, and also for the next night. But you really should have that in mind. If you don't have that in mind, there's opinions that say that without either verbal or mental plan to use that oil beyond 30 minutes, you really shouldn't use it for anything else. By the way, just as a corollary to that, the Mishnah Berurah says that you're not allowed to use benefit from the lights of the Hanukkah candles to do something. I mean, you're allowed to look at the Hanukkah candle and say, oh, look, they're beautiful, right? But you're not supposed to read by them or anything else because it's designated for the mitzvah. What about after 30 minutes? Can I benefit from the light after 30 minutes? Because 30 minutes, but I say 30 minutes, I mean 30 minutes post Pesach Chavim. So let's suppose Pesach Chavim in December will be at 5:15. So between 5:15 and 5:45, I can't use it at all. Can I use it at 5:46? Mishnah Berurah says don't because of Maris Ayin. You see, from that statement, you see that technically you'd be allowed to use it because only the light for 30 minutes is mitzvah light. But Mishnah Berurah says because Maris Ayin. Because somebody looking at you, reading by the light at 5:46, he has no idea when you lit it. Maybe you lit it at 5:20, and you're not supposed to use it till 5:50. So since a person may say, oh, look at that guy, he's reading by the Hanukkah lights, he may not know that. So because of Maris Ayin, he says it's best, even if it's going on for 3 hours, like some of our oils go on for 3 hours, do not use that Hanukkah light. So,
got a question. Going back to the electric number and Morris. Yeah, well, Bob and I have the same question, I think. I tried by a walk way home at 11 o'clock. I said, well, I thought Zvi Fischer was a pretty good guy.
Right. Right.
What's with it?
Yeah.
Is that an issue?
So that's an interesting question. Maybe I was hoping you'd know me better, but but no, you're right. That's an interesting point. That maybe somebody driving by would say, "Oh yeah, I know that the Orthodox Jew lives in that house, and look at that." Right. He's using an electric menorah. That's a very good point. I'll have to confer with my halachic sources about whether that's correct. So that's good.
This is not
Right. I lit with oil before. That's an excellent. It's an excellent point. Excellent point. Number 3. I live in an apartment building on the 10th floor. May I light by the window? So the answer is yes. But the reason there's a question because the Gemara says you're not supposed to live a light above 20 amos, which is about 30 feet. That's like the 3rd floor. Because in the Gemara's time, the Pesumi Nisa was for the street walkers. So somebody walking in the street can see in front of him, you can see on the 2nd floor, but the eyes, the rabbi said, really don't see to the 3rd floor, to 30 feet. So you're kind of sacrificing the purpose, but if you're lighting too high. But nowadays, for 2 reasons, the answer would be yes, because just like I'm in an apartment building, right? There's another apartment building opposite me so he's on the 10th floor, he'll see my light. The other one is that when the sakana became dangerous to declare publicly that you're Jewish, or to declare publicly perform a ritual, a religious ritual, so they moved the Pesume Nisa to indoors, to the family members. And that's the way it's remained. Most people, as far as I know, do not light outside. Okay, so since the Pesume Nisa is basically indoors, so it doesn't matter how high you do it. You're not doing it for the outside people. You're doing it for the family. That's so indoors. So you are allowed to do it. Now most people now light at the window, so you're achieving both. You're achieving the family seeing it, and then for outside people, because it's not dangerous anymore to publicly. I don't know. It may change for the people who live in New York after January, but for New Jersey, we're still safe to light Hanukkah menorahs outside. But you should make sure that when you light, even by a window, do it at a window in a room where people are milling around. No, don't do it in a window like to the back, where first of all, nobody walks into that back room, or there's nobody out there, right? So ideally, you should do it to the street. There's a famous question of whether Pesumi Nisa is for the non-Jews as well. Most people say no, that's really only for Jews. The Rav Soloveitchik held that it's also for non-Jews, declaring our commitment to our ritual observances. Number 4, may I light late at night with a bracha. So let's suppose I come home. I know it's going to be a very long day in the office, and I'm not going to be home till 10, or let's suppose 11. So the question, so of course I can light 11 o'clock, especially nowadays when there's still traffic, although in Fairlawn, we're a sleepy hollow community. So after 9 o'clock, you don't see anybody on the streets, but still nowadays there's traffic, as opposed to in the Gemara's days after Tzesa Kochavim, nobody was out on the street because there were no lights. So the question is, can I light 11 o'clock when I come home and everybody's sleeping, right? So the Mishnah Berurah says that ideally, for Pesumi Nisa reasons, you should not make a bracha. You can light, but you should not make a bracha lechatchila. You should not make a bracha when there's nobody else watching, right? But we paskin that, so lechatchila no, but b'diavad secondarily yes. So ideally, there should be somebody else. Now, unlike what we talked about a month ago, if you come home at 11 o'clock and you're going to light, and everybody's sleeping, you don't want to wake anybody, then FaceTime somebody. Remember, a month ago we said that you shouldn't use FaceTime or Zoom for Shomea Ka'one to be motzi somebody with your bracha, right? But here, you're not being motzi somebody. You just want somebody to watch you do it. So that's fine. So that would be the solution now, which obviously the people in the Chazal never envisioned, that you'd be able to do it and have somebody 1,400 miles away watch what you're doing. But so ideally, you should have other people there. Lechatchila, you should have at least one other person there to say the bracha. But b'diavad, we say you can do it. You come home at 11 o'clock, you can do it. Now, the truth of the matter is, as we'll discuss in 5 minutes, if you're in the office till very late at night, you can be yotze with your wife sliding at 5 p.m. If you want to do that, that would be perfectly okay. Okay, or with your 12-year-old daughter or 13-year-old son, you can be yotze with them. But a lot of people, they want to light, they don't want to be yotze that lighting. So by 11 o'clock, you can come light. But what?
You have to see it that they're lighting it?
No. All you have to know is to know that they're lighting, and you have kavanah to be yotze without lighting. So let's suppose the guy goes on a business trip and he's going to be somewhere and in a hotel, and he's not going to be able to light. He can be yotze with his family's lighting at home. Perfectly okay.
So Zvi,
May.
how about I'm not planning to come home tonight. Like the doctor out from the hospital. I'm home late. So my wife lights. Okay. All of a sudden, found out I can get out earlier. I'm coming home. It's still not, it would be like by 10 o'clock. Do I still have to light?
No, you don't have to, because you were Yotze. Your kavanah was to be Yotze. You want to do it for emotional reasons to light, but you would light, but without a bracha. You were Yotze already with your wife's lighting. By the way, for the question is, somebody, whether it's a man or a woman, who are going to be work late, not going to come home, should they light? They want to light. Should they light in the office, or when they come home? Should they light in the office at 5 o'clock, or should they light at home 11 o'clock? So, in general, the general rule among the big-time poskim is light where you sleep. You'll never go wrong with that. Where ruling is very strong in that. Where ruling says light where you sleep. So it's better to light at 11 p.m. where you sleep at home rather than in the office. You're not going to sleep there. There are, the Taz says that if you're going to eat supper in the office, you can light there. But we go more after where you sleep. That's kind of your home. And it's near Yishu Beso. Number 5, may an American yeshiva bachar learning in Israel fulfill his obligation to light with his family's lighting in the USA. So just remember, his family lighting in the USA is lighting at 5 p.m. 5 p.m. here is 12 midnight in Israel. So it means he's waiting till 12 midnight to be Yotze with his family's lighting. Shlomo Zalman says, yes, he's Yotze, but he's really saying that to make the point that somebody can be Yotze even with somebody in a different time zone. That's how strong you can be Yotze with your family's lighting. But really, he should light at 5 p.m. with a bracha, not be Yotze with his family, because that means he's waiting for 7 hours in Israel, but on 5 p.m. to 12 to be Yotze the mitzvah. That doesn't show a love or his reasons for the mitzvah. So now here's an important one, 6 o'clock. 6. I light at 5 p.m. At 5:30, I have to leave, so I extinguish the candles. When I return at 7:30, must or should I relight? So there's a lot of lumdus in this. Let's try to focus in. First of all, I light at 5 p.m., right? So let's suppose it's 5 p.m. I light at 5 p.m. So I let it light for a half hour. Now I want to leave. Right? You invited me for supper. I'm coming to your house for supper. So at 5:30, I leave. But I don't want to leave my house. Nobody will be there with burning candles, right? Something bad can happen. So I extinguish it. Is that okay? Yes, it is okay. For safety reasons, it's lit already. It's been lighting for a half hour. You're not supposed to extinguish within the half hour. But I fulfilled the mitzvah, right? At the time of the lighting, it was good to go for a half hour. It lit for a half hour. And now, for safety reasons, I'm leaving, so I can extinguish it. So that's okay. Now, let's suppose, in a general case, not this case, but let's suppose I light at 5 p.m., and at 5:05, the dog jumps and knocks over the candles, and now he's out. Must I, should I relight? The answer is, must I? No. Whoa, it only lit for 5 minutes. I thought you're supposed to light for a half hour. That's what it's supposed to light for a half hour. The mitzvah is when I light, should have the potential to light for a half hour. If it then goes out after 1 minute, I'm good to go. Now, so the must I? No. Should I? Yes. Because it's best for Pesumi Nisa reasons that to light for a half hour. So I should. Now here, when I come home at 7:30, so I extinguished it at 5:30. I went out for 2 hours. I come back at 7:30. Must I relight? No, I don't have to relight. Should I relight? So this is a weaker should I relight because it already lit for a half hour. But many say, I forget who was the one said, the Taz and the Marashal say, it's to fulfill the Pesume Nisa Bishleimusa, it should go as long as somebody may be able to see it. So at 7:30, I should relight it and let it go for as long as it can. So that's a weak should, but I certainly do not have to. Now the other thing, the other thing is we have to always remember that part of the mitzvah, or part of our commemoration, is to commemorate the Neros Hanukkah long ago, which started the miracle. And that was done in the Beis HaMikdash. And also it correlates with the usual mitzvah of menorah in the Beis HaMikdash, which was every night, which lived throughout the night. So if we want to really relive and commemorate properly, it should light for as long as possible.
So let's say my candle is burned for an hour. No, I'm not going anywhere. They go out. Can I put in more new candles, relight them, or light them? No bracha, of course.
Sure. Absolutely. Number 7, lighting in shul. It's an interesting thing because nobody's yotze without lighting in shul. The Beis Yosef says that it's done for really 3 reasons. The main one is for Pesumi Nisa. Now we have 3 mitzvos where Pesumi Nisa is part of the mitzvah. Mikra Megillah, Arba Kosos, and Neres Chanukah. And in all of them, we have some kind of public other than the private, meaning. So by the Arba Kosos, the Pesumi Nisa is very much family. We're sitting at the Seder and we're having it, so it can be for one person, 2 people, 10 people, whatever it is. It's not so public. So what do? We say Hallel at night in shul. Now that Hallel in shul at night is very unique. It's only done that one night or the first 2 nights. Okay, what's with the Hallel in shul? The Hallel in shul on Pesach night is Pesumi Nisa in public. To really do it in public, right? Mikra Megillah, we do obviously in public, and I'll just put in my little pet peeve. You've heard this before. For Eicha, it's okay. It's fine to have house minyanim. You want to have 10 people in the house to read Eicha? That's okay. There's no Pesumi Nisa there. For Purim, house minyanim on Purim is really not the ideal. I'm not saying it. Plus, I have no power to say you shouldn't do it. I'm just saying that is just a personal right between friends. The house minyanim for Megillah is not in the spirit of the law, because the spirit of the law is Pesumi Nisa, which should be done with the biggest minyan you can find in town. Go to shul and do it with 300 people rather than with 10 people in a house. Are you yotze? Of course you're yotze. Look, you're yotze the Megillah reading if you do it yourself. Just get a cloth and read it yourself. But the Pesumi Nisa, it should be Barov Am Hadras Melech. The other reason the Beis Yosef says that we do it in shul is just to be motzi people who are not going to light. And the third reason is, before, the Neres Chanukah, in the first Neres Chanukah, the miracle Neres Chanukah, was done in the Beis Hamikdash. So we should commemorate that Nes in our Mikdash Me'at, in our Shtickle Mikdash, which is the shul. Now, you do with a bracha, right? You do with a bracha. We do it with the brachos. We do it between Mincha and Mariv. And you're now allowed to benefit from those lights. We treat them just like the mitzvah lights, which even though they're not mitzvah lights, right? It's a ceremonial thing to publicize the Nes. You're not supposed to do it. So you ask me, who's going to benefit from those lights? Well, especially yesteryear when the lighting in shul is not so good. So let's suppose somebody wants to read the Davar Mariv by those lights. You're not allowed to, right? At least for the first half hour. You're not supposed to. The lighter in shul is not yotze. So he has to go home and light again, right? With the brachos. It's as if that lighting was not done, even from the lighter's point of view. Now, those lights should remain lit for 30 minutes, like regular. We treat it, should have the potential for 30 minutes. It should light for 30 minutes. But let's suppose you finish Mariv at 20 minutes. Now everybody's leaving. Can you extinguish those lights? So that was a real question, because we usually don't extinguish the lights within the 30 minutes that it's supposed to light. But let's suppose, you sing, some shuls only sing the first paragraph of Maoz Tzur, and then you do a quick 10-minute Mariv. So they're only lit for 15 minutes. But now everybody's leaving. Nobody's going to stay in shul. Well, we don't want that shul to burn down. So you're allowed to, Rav Osler says you're allowed to extinguish it for safety reasons. Ideally, at least one person should stay and let them light for 30 minutes. But if for some reason everybody's going to leave, then don't leave the shul with burning candles. Number 8, you're flying to Israel in the afternoon. Let's suppose you have a 4:00 flight on United from Newark. So you have to be there around 1:00. Well, you can't light your Hanukkah candles at 1:00. So what are you going to do? There's no choice. You're not going to be able to light. You can't light before Plag and Mincha. You can light as early as an hour and a quarter before sunset. But, you're supposed to have done very, very, big candles or lots and lots of oil to light for the next 3 hours, whatever. So, but here, you're not going to be able to light. So what's your option? So you can say, well, okay, so you'll miss one day, one night of Hanukkah candle. That's never an option, right? So what do? You appoint a shaliach. You put an agent to go to your house and light. So you tell your neighbor, do me a favor, at 5 p.m., go light in my house, right? He's your agent now. So he's like somewhere substitute for your family, like the businessman who's away and he's Yotzei. You're Yotzei with lighting done in your house, right? Now, ideally, it should be done by a family member, but if not, not. Okay, so you tell your neighbor, do me a favor, at 5 p.m., go to my house and light. So he'll say the brachos, and I'm Yotzei without lighting, right? Now, even better is if I FaceTime him, wherever I am, even on the plane, I FaceTime him.
You be Yotzei if it's lighting in his house, it's not so practical.
No.
Where it comes to you.
Right, no. You're not Yotzei with lighting other than in your house when it's remote. What? No.
You can't become a shuttif with them. The same way that you have a guest over for Shabbos.
Yeah, but that guest is sleeping there.
Okay.
You're right. So that's different. We'll get that in a minute. But so you appoint him as an agent, and he's lighting for you. Now that agent is not Yotzei without lighting. It's not in his house. He's not sleeping there, right? He has to go back to his house and light. Rav Sobolovsky told me that what he recommends, because this question does come up, and whether it's a flight to Israel or some other situation, he recommends that first the agent, your neighbor, should light in his house with the bracha. So 5 p.m., he should have his like that. Then let him go to your house and light without saying the brachos. Right? Now, if you FaceTime him, so he's not going to say lahadlik. Now, you certainly can't say lahadlik because you didn't light it, right? But if you FaceTime him and you're watching him light, and now you're in your house, candles are burning, so you can say Shasa Nisim. Really, there's what's called a brachas haroeh. You can say Shasa Nisim on any candles that are going. But that's where, so the agent would light, your shaliach would light in his house with the brachos. Go into your house, light, right? Ideally, stay there for 30 minutes, and then you'll be outside with that. So that's not lechatchila, right? But that's it's a clever option to do when there's no other option. And now to Mendy's point, number 9, you're staying as a guest overnight in someone's house, so you're going to sleep there, right? That's really by sleeping standards, your house for that night. So the Shulchan Aruch has this. He calls that an achsanai, which is the Aramaic for guest. So he says, like Mendy says, mishtatef b'pruta, give him a dollar bill, kind of you're participating in the cost of the oil. It's almost like you become a family member, and then you yotze with the host. That's what the Shulchan Aruch says. Mishnah Berurah says, no, it's better to light your own and say your own bracha. Says the Mishnah Berurah says, there's no problem with it. You're sleeping there. So light your own. Rav Soloveitchik says what's best is give the dollar to the host, listen to the host's bracha, and then light your own menorah. That's kind of interesting, right? But the simplest, either or. You're going away for Hanukkah. A lot of people go away for, let's say, Shabbos, Hanukkah to their family, right? So as the guest, either just simply bring your menorah or borrow a menorah. Menorah doesn't have to be yours. It's not like Abba Minu, right? Get a menorah and light it and say the brachos yourself. But you want to participate, you can. Just give a dollar. Now, you don't have to really give a dollar. You can have the owner of the house gift you a part of the oil. So that's also yours. So either way, so that's not such a big issue. Number 10, am I running out of time? 1 o'clock. Number 10, Friday afternoon, which is better? Mincha alone pre-lighting or mincha with a minyan post-lighting? So let's just get the question, kind of frame the question. So Friday afternoon is always an issue because you have sunset, let's say at 4:30. So ideally, so there are two ideals here. There's the davening, there's the mincha issue, and there's the lighting issue. Ideally, you should always daven with a minyan. Okay, davening with a minyan is better than davening alone. Okay. Ideally, the order should be mincha and then lighting. Why is that? Why is that? Well, who cares what I do first? Because mincha is for today. Lighting is for tomorrow, right? We always light, right? We always light at night because that's the next day. The night starts the day. But mincha is for today. So what you should do for today, do before you do for tomorrow. So mincha should go before the lighting. So now, what is the best? Friday afternoon. So the shul has a 2:00 mincha. So you go to the 2:00 mincha. Then you light at 4:15 at home or at 4:00 at home, right? So you daven with a minyan, you daven mincha before you lighting, and then you light, and then you come to shul for Mariv. So that's the ideal. But let's suppose you work. You're not home at 2:00. You're not coming home till 3:30. So you missed the early mincha minyan. So you're not going to have an early mincha minyan. So now it's 3:00. So now it's 3:30. So now what's best to do? Daven mincha alone and then light. So you didn't do what's best as far as davening, but you did what's best as far as the order. You daven mincha first. Or no, the order is very important, or more important. So what you should do, at 3:30 you come home, light, let's say the shul mincha is at 4:15, right? 15 minutes before sunset. So you light it at home at 4:00, and then you go to shul and you daven mincha with minyan. What did you lose? You lost the order in that you lit before you daven mincha. So the question is it best to do the davening? What's better to do? What's best for davening or what's best for the order of lighting? So that's a question. You can go either way on this. That the El Yerabba and the Shlah say the mincha b'minyan wins. And what you should do then, you come home at 3:30, light at 4:00, and then go to shul at 4:15 and catch the mincha with a minyan. And the last thing, not the last, number 11. Okay, two more things. Number 11, is there halachic source for Chanukah geld? To give kids gifts or money. So there's no halachic source, but I saw 3 potential sources by different people. So first, the Magen Avraham says, what used to be is, at Chanukah time, poor kids would go door to door to collect tzedakah for their family, right? And then, in order not to embarrass the poor kids, all kids went around to collect money, and then it just developed that we just give all kids money, right? That's how minhagim kind of develop. They start with something, and then they blossom. The Panavitcherov says that at the time of the Chanukah story, long ago, the Greeks, Syrians, outlawed Talmud Torah. So in order to give an incentive to the kids to learn Torah, they would give them gifts. The parents would give them gifts to learn Torah, and then it just became that we gave gifts. Not to learn Torah, but we gave gifts, for the sake of gifts. Rav Yaakov Kamenetsky says it's an interesting thing that there was an old minhag to give the melamdim, the teachers, money on Hanukkah, right? And they would send the money with the kids, their students. So your kid has a melamed, so you give him $10, and then he took it to the teacher. So with time, it just developed, the minhag developed that they kind of cut out the teacher, they just gave the money to the kids. So like bypass the teachers. Honey says that she can relate to the bypassing the teacher, right? And the last thing was just an interesting point, which I really never understood. I've asked a few people and I didn't get satisfactory answer, but just the Kriyas Torah on Hanukkah, which is an interesting thing. There's a famous machlok between Shulchan Aruch and the Ramah and Minhag Eretz Yisrael and Minhag USA. And that is, that the reading on Hanukkah comes from Pashas Naso, the korbanos of the Chanukas HaMishkan. So that's a good connection. So a list of all the korbanos, 12 days. That was Nisan 1 to Nisan 12. That's what they did at Chanukas HaMishkan. So on day number 1, we read the introductory psukim, and then we read the korban of day 1. Good, right? And on day 8, we read the 8th day, but then it's a very long laning on the 8th day of Hanukkah. You read 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and you even go into the first few psukim of Parshas Baaloscha, which deals with the lighting of menorah. And I'm not talking about Rosh Chodesh, which always happens on Hanukkah. I'm not talking about Shabbos, which always happens on Hanukkah. But let's suppose a regular day. Let's suppose Tuesday. It's the 3rd day of Hanukkah. So the Shulchan Aruch says, now each korban is 6 psukim. So right, Just think of this. So Shulchan Aruch says that the first Aliyah reads the first two psukim of the Korban, right? The second Aliyah reads the next three psukim. So now you just finished day one, right? And the third Aliyah, on Hanukkah there's only three Aliyahs. On Chol HaMoed there are four Aliyahs, but on Hanukkah there are only three Aliyahs. The third Aliyah repeats the whole Korban day, day one Korban, right? So the Shulchan Aruch says because why repeat? I mean, why go on to the next, right? We're focusing, today is just Korban 1. So repeat, there's no problem with repeating, right? And that's what they do in Eretz Yisrael. In Eretz Yisrael, everywhere, they only read the day 1 Korban, and they read the third Aliyah. It simply it's a 6 pasuk Aliyah, which repeats it. Ramah says no. The Ramah says that he agrees. The first Aliyah split the day 1, and the third Aliyah reads the next day's Korban. Better not to repeat. Reads the next day Korban. You have to understand, in Hanukkah, we don't have Sfeika D'Yoma. We don't play the Sfeika, this doubtful day that we do with Pesach, Sukkot, and Shavuos. We don't have it for two reasons. This is an interesting, just kind of a fund of information. We don't have Sfeika D'Yoma by Purim and Hanukkah for two reasons. One is, we don't have Sfeika D'Yoma by D'Rabbanans. We only have it by D'Oraisa, only by the 3 regalim. We don't have it by D'Rabbanans. Okay, so the Chutz La'aretz, we don't have 2 days of Purim, and the Chutz La'aretz, we don't have 9 days of Hanukkah. Okay, we have that by Pesach, Shavuos, and Sukkot, right? Not that. Also, we don't have, this is a teaching of the Rav, we don't have Sfeika D'Yoma when numbers count, when we're counting numbers, right? Meaning like Sfiras HaOmer. So you count. We don't count, today's day 17, maybe 18. Today's 18, maybe 19. Meaning to say maybe 19, that's not counting. Counting is 1, 2, 3, 4. Not 1, 2, or maybe it's 3. I'm not sure. Oh, it's 3, maybe it's 4. That's not counting. That's gibberish, right? Counting is a sequence to it, right? A specific sequence. Now, there's Hanukkah that we do. On day 1, we light 1 candle, 2 candles. On three, it wouldn't make sense to light 3 candles and have a menorah. Oh, but maybe it's the 4th day. Okay, then 4 when we're counting. But the basic halachic answer is that there's no Sfeika D'Yoma by D'Rabbanan, only by D'Oraisa. So there's no Sfeika D'Yoma. So it's kind of funny, the Ramah's opinion that the third Aliyah, that we don't repeat, and the third Aliyah would read the next day's Korban. Okay? The reason I say that's funny is because there's no problem repeating. That would be true if there was a problem repeating. On Sukkot, you know what we do on Sukkot, Chol HaMoed? Right? Sukkot, we read the Korbanos on Sukkot, right? We don't do it on Pesach. But on Sukkot, we read Korbanos. So the first 2 Aliyah, so the first Aliyah reads day number 3. The second Aliyah reads day number 4. And the third Aliyah reads day number 5. Which is another blind which I've never gotten a good answer to. That second Yom is a question of 2 days, never 3 days, right? That. And you know what the fourth Aliyah reads? He goes back and he reads day 3 and 4. So we repeat 3 and 4. So the Ramah had no problem repeating. So I do not understand this position. But in Eretz Yisrael, they do like the Shulchan Aruch. They simply repeat that day's. They only read that day's Korban, right? Here, the Ashkenazim follow the Ramah, as we usually do, and the first 2 Aliyahs split the first that day's Korban, and the third Aliyah will read the next day's Korban. So when you hear that next day's Korban, please think of a svara. Why would you do that? Just repeat by that. So I don't have a good answer for that. Then, okay, all right, Adkan.
The bench that was divided to the bench. Okay, so.
Thanks.